Filmverse. My name is Bryce Payne.
I'm Mytchel Chandler.
And today we're going to be discussing Mychel Schultz's 1975 film, Cooley High.
Yes,
Did I get a high five? Yeah, go me. Woo!
Go you.
That was like the fourth time. You wouldn't believe how many takes it's taken to get to the 5-second intro.
Also, happy Valentine's Day.
No one give a shit about that. Bryce said the name right. Whoa!
Woo!
Anyway, so we're going to be discussing Cooley High. As if you watched our last episode, you'll know that we are discussing movies in the month of February that are black-led or black representation for Black History Month. And so far, we've talked about Malcolm X and, of course, Cooley High today. And then we're going to be taking a little bit of segue after Cooley High to discuss why we love movies and what they mean to them, and what we mean to them.
Yeah,
what they mean to us.
Specifically, what we mean to them. Yeah, how important we are to the movies, and why, without us, movies just cannot exist. That's
Bryce butchers one time. This is a whole thing now. Anyway, what we love about movies and what movies mean to us. I don't know how far we'll get into that because movies are subjective, but
warm and fuzzy.
We're wanting to celebrate romance, and since we don't like romance films, I wouldn't say we don't like them. That's not what I delve into.
I love romance films. Good romance films. I don't like Hallmark films.
Before Sunrise. We like Before Sunrise. I know you haven't seen that, but I don't care. It's a good romance.
You know what? I'll just agree with you.
It's a great movie. It's a great trilogy. I haven't even seen the last one. I know it's a great trilogy. But yeah, so
in the sake of moving on, I agree with you.
So getting a Cooley High, okay? We're done with this.
Cooley High. Okay.
So
I'm gonna let you introduce this.
You're gonna let me introduce it, man. We've been struggling with introducing this. We're not even gonna edit this. This is it. If this when mistakes has happened, this is what's going out. So Cooley High follows a group of high school friends who decide to go out and enjoy their day in the I want to call it the ghetto, but I'm going to call it the ghetto. They're going out to enjoy their day in the ghetto and showing the true power of friendship and, enjoying life.
True power until they don't, because the dude dies at the end. Spoiler alert.
Just blew out eardrums because you made me laugh.
It's not funny. It's really not. Actually, it's really sad.
Murder is never funny. We don't condone it. Don't do it.
No. Okay, so yeah, basically just a group of friends having fun until the end when the dude dies, which is sad. But throughout the film, there's a lot of fun moments. I think that there's
a couple standouts. We'll put some examples here. So first off, they play craps in a bathroom.
They do, and
it is so random. And just all I want to say is, if I ever went to the bathroom and there's just a group of guys sitting on the floor playing craps, I'd leave.
Now that was at the school, right?
That was at the school, yes. Yeah,
then,
it's so weird.
And the teacher walks in and breaks them all up and tells them.
And everyone just stands in the corner like, what?
And that teacher actually plays a pretty big role throughout the whole film. I think there was even a spot where he tries to get them out of jail, which I do want to talk about a little bit.
Did you what did you think of the actor for the teacher?
That's why I wanted to talk about him. He was cool, but he seemed a little young. And
he did. He looked like a child.
And actually, in some of the trivia for that, the Warner, I think it was Warner, I don't know, the studio didn't want to hire him because he looked too young.
And then they were like, surprise, he's a real teacher.
Surprise.
I almost said the joke's on you. He knows what he's talking about. This film actually does it a lot, though, where it casts people that actually do what their characters do.
They do. Actually,
I like that. Yeah, people that know he does like big brain moment.
Big brain moment. In fact, Mychel Schultz, which is the director of this film, wanted an authentic character for his gangster roles. So he actually went to the Chicago police and asked about if there's any gangsters he knew.
Okay, but imagine this. Imagine how baller you are. You're just like, I'm going to the police department. They're like walking like, how can we help you, sir? I need to know where your gangsters are. Like,
no, it's not even that. You know what's even more gangster than that is going to a studio and being like, I don't want real actors. Not real actors. I don't want any professionally trained actors. I want the gangsters on the street to be in these roles.
Well, even the guy who played Preach that actually lived in like projects.
Yeah.
So he's like, we're gonna have authenticity. So he, as you were saying, he went to the police department.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he went to the police department and he basically asked for if they knew anybody that they might work for these gangster roles, and they went out and found the two roles, which was Norman Gibson and Sharon Smith, who are actually real life gangsters in the area, and then they ended up hiring him for this role.
And we talked about this in one of our takes. I'm not even gonna lie, it's been a struggle.
Yeah.
But he showed up in a limo.
He did.
And was just like, hey man,
get in.
You want to be in this movie?
Read the script. Make a movie.
And then they got hired for the roles.
They did.
And then tragedy ensued.
Tragedy and also some good stuff. Gibson.
Mainly tragedy, because tragedy outdoes the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Norman Gibson, he perished a year later after the film was released. I think it was a killing involved in like they were basically doing a dice game, like, and then he just
he was playing craps and got shot.
Yeah,
that is
ironic. Yeah.
I want to make a joke, but I'm also like, that's in bad taste.
I know. And then the other guy, gentleman, Smith, he did get arrested for what did he do? For armed robbery. Just rob something. And then, but he got rehabilitated by a friend, Jackie Taylor, who was actually on the cast list of this, and then ended up making a recovery from just not doing more crime.
Being hood.
Yeah, not doing more crime, and ended up doing a lot more acting roles.
So it's good for him. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
You come and get acting roles because you were just found by a police department.
Yeah, imagine being a gangster and just being like, "Yo, so you're gonna act now."
Well, I mean, they kind of did it with The Godfather, where
Really?
one of the guys was actually a mafia member that was sent by the mafia to watch the production of the movie, and the director, like Francis Ford Coppola, was just like,
"Get in there,
you want to be in a movie?"
That's funny.
So I mean, I love when movies do that kind of thing. But we spoke about the craps game. There's also a scene where they mug a prostitute.
I love this scene, specifically because how witty the banter is. They basically go up to him and like, because I think they had gotten like a cop badge from earlier, or it was like, it wasn't even a cop badge. It was like it was like a park ranger. Or
yeah, it wasn't
like
even like a real thing, and they just flashed it, and they were like, "Ah, damn it, the 5-0."
I know exactly. Like, you know what? You give us he's like, I can be bribed, and like, you give me your money, and then we won't take you to jail.
And she's just like, "God dang it, I can't go to jail again," and like gives them the money, and then they're like, "Thanks," and leave.
It was so funny.
But they steal a Cadillac. They go joyriding, which is actually a really fun scene. They're like driving through the thing, just laughing, having a ball, running away from the cops.
Yeah, it was actually kind of fun.
It's enjoyable, yeah, until they get picked up.
Yeah, well, see, they didn't get picked up at the time. It was later in the film.
It was later, but they still got picked up
when they were in school. Yeah, it was
they
when
do.
School,
Yeah, they get there and they're
school.
just like, "What have you been up to, son?" They're like, "Nothing." They're like, "We know it was you."
And then they all tell different stories.
Yeah, nothing adds up. They didn't plan that out right. They didn't get their story straight.
Nope.
Number one is stealing a car. Get your story straight.
Which
Amateurs.
Exactly. Which ends up getting two of the dudes arrested.
You get Cochise and Preach end up getting released because the teacher comes in and is like, "They're good students, man. They're
good
like
peeps.
They made a bad decision, but they're good students." And then the two gang members, who I do not know the character's name, they get arrested and then come back for revenge, as one does. Because wouldn't you, like, if your friends sold you out, yeah, you'd be like, "Bro, I thought we were cool.
What the heck is smacking?"
So they get out and they come after Preach and Cochise.
Yeah,
which becomes very. It's like there's a funny scene where Preach is in the bathroom in the diner after they find him, and this girl is just in there trying to do her thing, and she's sitting there freaking out because he's in there. Because I mean, obviously, like, you're in the middle of something, you're interrupted like that. It's rude.
Down your ankles, and then just some dude barges in, and he's like, "I can't. There's people trying to get me."
She's like, "Get out!" He's like, "I can't."
He's like, "I can't. I'm gonna die."
What's that meme? It's like, I can't take it off. I can't. That's what it reminds me of. But it's pretty comical. It's one of the funnier moments of the film, because then he's like, they leave and he's like crying it out. And she's like, "I can't let people see me like this." And he's like, "Bruh, you wanted me to leave, now you don't." Like, she's like, "Turn around," and he's like trying to pick a look.
Yeah, and then he does, and he's like, "Whoa!" It was hilarious.
The film has a lot of moments like that where it's just like, it's inappropriate, but it's funny inappropriate.
Yeah,
it feels very much like they're kids, which is
exactly.
surprising because the guy who plays Preach is 28 years old.
Wow. Yeah, that's funny.
So it's like Spike Lee and Malcolm X. The guy don't age.
Don't age.
But no, the movie has a lot of good moments, and it shows what youth should have been like for kids of the era, and just how free spirited times should be for children. And you get into mischief, but such as growing up. But of course, you pay for your mistakes.
Yeah.
Sometimes not the right person.
Right.
As it pulls a Radio Raheem and Cochise gets murdered.
Sad days.
It was an accident.
Well, I mean, they definitely meant to.
It wasn't like they beat him up, but it wasn't like they were walking up like, "Pop you."
Yeah, they were trying to pop him, but they definitely were trying to rough him up a little bit, because even when he fell down, they were trying to kick him to get him back up.
And then sadness happens when your friends die.
And yeah, and then it was sadness.
And Preach kind of.
You know what they did do though at the end of this film that I'm like, but why? But for why? They did like a montage of like, this is where this character is now, and I'm like, but why would you do that? Because it's not a real story. I don't care. I
You
mean,
know what that makes me remember?
huh?
Every 80s film where it's like it plays a thing and it's like dun dun, like the song. I don't think it was a song from Breakfast Club, right?
Yeah.
And like it has like this person went on to do the winning the Grammy Prize or the win a Grammy, or this guy went on to win Nobel Peace
Yeah,
Prize.
because it almost doesn't mean anything, right? Like you're just like, I didn't like they just see they can say anything. I'm like, yeah, okay.
But I feel like it's such like a normal thing for the era that this movie's ahead of its time. Because like there's so many films from the 80s where it's like it does a whole like montage at the end. Actually, I think it was like a couple years ago, where it became like a meme where it's like every like coming of age 80s film is the same way, where it's just like da 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 went on to da da da, and then as soon as like we discussed this before, like I said, we've done multiple takes, and this is the first time I thought about that. I was like, damn, this happens a lot in movies actually.
I mean, it
like
happens.
For instance, last month, House Party. They're like, yeah, we'll just do it again. And now, like, it's making me think, like, is this in a lot of movies?
It's fine when it's like based on a real story, but like when they do it, when it's not based on a real story, the film, and they do it, it's like
they're just trying to show you where the characters end up. It's like, okay, so here's one that I don't know if you've seen, Stand By Me, Stephen King. The movie adaptation has like not where it's like the freeze frame and like the da 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 comes on to what, but the guy narrates and he's like, he went on to do this, and you know we never really talked much after that, and it's kind of like narrating where they ended up.
Yeah,
and it works for that, but it doesn't work for like movies like Cooley High.
I don't. It's to a certain extent where it's just like it just feels weird because it's just like, well, I know this is real, so like I didn't experience them and do it. Like it almost like. Because the way it ends is like you don't need anything after that, right? Like I don't need anything.
You don't need to know where the characters end up. You're like, the story has been told. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, in certain movies that's part of the film is needed to make you feel better or to feel a certain way when you're leaving the theater, you know? It's effective when it's happening.
Sort of, I just want to think about like Malcolm X, where like it talks about, you know, what he just done at the end. It's like Malcolm X, da da da. Remember da. Man, I don't know. Now I'm torn about how I feel about the ending because it didn't really bother me, but now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, I think you have a point.
I just don't like it that much. It just feels weird to me, off to me.
No, I will say that I talked to a coworker about this movie, and he said that he grew up on this movie and he really liked it. So I wonder if this is like a staple for a lot of people's like childhood. Certain generations are like, man, I love Cooley High. But now it's like, what, oh my God, like 45, 48 years later.
75, yeah. Somebody's dad.
25 to 23, so 48 years later.
Yeah, a long time.
That's crazy. Dude, I still think the 80s are like 20 years ago.
Same.
So it's just like you start doing the math and you're like, wow.
Yeah, you're just like, wait, am I old?
But no, it's I don't know. It's such an interesting staple for a lot of people's life.
I agree, but I also think that it's just
it's just a film.
An endearing. Yeah, it's just
a film.
I feel like we should just say that for every single film we ever do. It's just a film. Like it's a good film. It's a good bad film. It's just a film. Like,
it's just a watchable film. It's not something that I think is like breaking the mold of what it's trying to do, but it is very much like a good coming of age film for the time.
You know, honestly, what it is though, it's like whenever you watch a film, like you're always trying to think about how you're trying to like to explain how like the viewing of this film is, and like you either have to say it's like the worst thing ever, it's like trying to get people to understand like how you're feeling, or it's like the best thing ever. Like no, it's not neither of those, but it's still like an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable film, but it's nothing that like
obviously it's capped off by a rather sullen ending, but I still think it was a fun time to spend with these characters. Like these are really cool characters that would like
rather
to spend more time with.
Yeah, like it's not a bad watch.
Exactly.
It's just unlike, I feel like it's such a bad follow-up for a film like Malcolm X, where like you can't really compare the two of them. You can't be like, well, Malcolm X is this and Cooley High does this, but it's like Malcolm X is the superior film, but Cooley High is still such a watchable film.
Yeah.
I should have picked a better movie to go with Malcolm X.
No, I mean it doesn't have to be.
Should have been like Selma. You're like, we're going Malcolm X to Martin Luther King, but instead I was like, coming of age film.
Yeah, exactly. Coming of age because you don't come of age because they just die.
Now, I will say that I think you picked way heavier films than I did for this month.
Honestly, the reason I picked the certain films that I did was mostly just because they were like iconic films that I haven't seen yet.
Now, I will say I do like 3 of the 4 movies that we picked for this month, which for those who don't know, you can go to my letterbox at Pain Reviews, and I have a list of all the movies we picked.
Yeah, exactly.
But 3 of them are based on true events.
Huh. Oh, right. Yeah. Especially the next one. Jesus Christ.
And then Cooley High is just kind of there. But it is a very watchable film that I think a lot of people will enjoy, and it does have a lot of good moments. It's not really my cup of tea. It's not something where like I've seen it. It's not something where I'm like, yeah, I got to go watch it again. But it was something I enjoyed watching and experiencing.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's definitely a entertaining time for an hour and a half, I think.
But moving on from Cooley High, go watch it. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 for me.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Speaking of Valentine's Day, Mytchel, growing up, now obviously we do a movie podcast.
Spider-Man. Oh, just kidding.
Now we do a movie podcast, so obviously we have a lot of love for film. But Mytchel, what was your first, if you can remember, what was the first moment of your life where you were watching a movie and you were like, "Oh my God, this changed me"?
Spider-Man.
No,
no,
you are older than me. I didn't watch Spider-Man in theaters. I'm assuming, did you?
Not the first Spider-Man. Specifically Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3?
Yeah.
Did you ever have a movie where you were a kid and you went to a theater with your parents and you were just like blown away by what you were watching? It doesn't matter how corny it is. Remember, you're a child. They aren't going to take you to watch like the big movies. Typically, not the big movies.
Honestly, my biggest, specifically when I'm talking about theater experiences, my biggest ones are Spider-Man 3, Transformers, the first one, and the first.
How old were you when Spider-Man 3 came out?
Well, let's see. I was born in 1997, and it was 2003, so 6.
Spider-Man 3 came out in 2007.
Oh. What came out in 2003?
2003 was...
Who cares?
You know what's terrible? The first thing came to my mind in 2003. I was like, I'm pretty sure Daredevil came out in 2003.
Probably. Yeah, no. Spider-Man 3 was 2007, so that would have been
Spider-Man 2
10.
was 2002.
Yeah, I would have been 10. I would have been 10.
10 years old. Do you remember watching any movies at home that just blew you away? Like
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean. That's such a good pick because I remember I was in 2nd grade. I remember this vividly. Deadman's Chest.
Is that's the one with
Davy Jones, and
yeah.
the I want to call it trio, the trio sword fight with
yeah.
Captain Norrington and Jack Sparrow and Will
so
Turner. I remember watching that in 2nd grade and ranting about it for people for like a year.
I know I didn't used to watch. I used to when I was a kid. I read more than I watched TV or movies for the longest time. So
I never realized really like it never really hit me. So like I've always watched movies, but I never noticed how much I liked movies until like recently growing up.
Yeah,
like it never really hit me. But there was like for people wondering, I grew up around movies. My dad and mom loved watching like Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So I grew up on like the 80s. My sisters love musicals, so I had like Rent playing all the time. I remember a day we had like that, the old style box TVs, the big ones.
Oh yeah.
And I spent an entire day rewatching Deadman's Chest, and my sisters got so mad.
You just rewatched it on repeat?
I'd finish it and just instantly restart it.
Oh my gosh.
And I did it for like an entire day, and my sister was like, Bryce, this is like the 4th time. I'm like, it's so good.
It's so good.
And I remember like I just loved the way it was shot, like the colors and like the intro scene with Elizabeth Swann at the wedding. And you had the rain hitting the teacups, and you see like the rain, like the water filling the teacups, and like the little dot, like the little splashes of the rain. And I just remember being a kid, being like, "I love this."
I'm trying. There's so many specific. The more you we bring up our childhood, the more I start remembering films that really just start like sparked the interest. But honestly, why I love films at the capacity that I do today doesn't really start to like. I want to say like 20s. Probably I don't know. I didn't even think about it, and this is to be honest, I didn't even really think about it until 2017 or 2018, roughly.
It's weird because like I started like around the same period as when I started going to theaters a lot and just being like more involved in films coming out.
Because here's the progression of events. What happened? Like once I was in high school, I watched some films. Mostly just went to go see the superhero films, the Marvel films. Well, I even went to go see like all the DC films too. I just like superheroes, and so I would go see them. And then maybe some big action films here and there, like a Mission Impossible film. It was like something that me and my friend would do, just like we would go see like not
It's
every
like
weekend.
the new Marvel movie. You'd be like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever there's
And
anything like
that's so much fun though. I never had a friend to do that with.
yeah, and then I think that pop culture has started becoming part of my like repertoire. I started going to Comic Con, cosplay, and then just I love just started reading comics. So obviously that started my love for stuff. But then I started going to. I had another friend that I would go to films with me, and we would try to go see as many of the bigger films as we could. Not we didn't we tried to go to, and then we actually started trying to go to every release.
It wasn't like just like you want to go see 80 for Brady. It was like,
No,
okay, Mission Impossible
it was
is a
still
huge movie. Let's go watch it. Okay, this is a huge movie. Let's go watch it. But you kind of skip out on the
yeah,
little ones.
skip on the little ones. And then it was 2019. It was just like a huge year, just a lot of really good films.
Dude, so many. Like I remember that was when I started going to a lot of the movie releases and paying attention to the trailers. And I think it was like 1917. I was like, yo, I love that. I gotta go watch that. Jojo Rabbit, Joker.
Yeah,
Like,
I just kept going back to films, just and mostly just because of what interested me, not because I just was like,
it wasn't just like movie. Yes, it was like, wow, it looks really good.
yeah. I mean, everything just looks good to me because I don't really have much expectations for films like on what it should be or shouldn't be. So as long as it like looks sort of interesting to me, I was like, yeah, that sounds like something fun to go do. And especially because like movies are so inexpensive to other forms of entertainment. I feel like
Yeah, it's especially if you're part of like a movie club or part of a program. So like
right.
AMC has their A list where it's like I think like $18 a month or something like that.
I think it's
You
30, but
it can't be 30. I mean, we don't use it. We don't have one near
Well,
us that's good.
that's good. That's the key.
I think I tried to do it one time and I couldn't bring myself to drive all the way to that AMC to sit in those, like they don't have recliners. At least the last time I went, they don't have recliners, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't.
I could rant about AMC all day,
But they have that program, and it's like 3 movies a week,
yeah,
for free, and that's a great program. So if you can do that, I mean, that's a lot of money you save.
but specifically,
Or Regal Unlimited, where it's like 50 cents a ticket for $18 a month.
the reason I got into film the way I do is mostly because of you.
I'm sorry, I just go to everything. I do not care what it is. I'm just like movie.
No, it's not because of that. It's because of when
my willingness.
well, no, I'm saying when the pandemic happened, it's like that really killed a lot of my. I mean, well, obviously the movies theaters weren't open, so
It's hard. It was. I don't want to say harder for you to watch movies.
yeah, but I know. But then I would come over to your house, and we would watch films.
Best Picture, boys.
Best Picture, but I even remember coming over and just us watching just other stuff.
We
too.
just watched Little Cats.
Yeah. And then so that really kept my love for film alive. And then coming back into this, it's really just been a exploration of finding things. Well, because I found things that I would never have watched unless you showed me them. Like I would never watch
good.
a bunch of things. One that I could just that comes Whiplash actually. That one that I never would have watched.
And now you love it.
One of my favorite films.
What I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
We started watching movies together in theaters in 2020, back when theaters reopened.
Yeah.
So 3 years almost. I've seen 118 movies in theaters with you. And like that's a lot of movies, especially considering that I keep a list on Letterboxd of every movie I've seen in theaters, along with every movie I've seen with Mytchel. I've seen 308 movies in theaters my entire life that I know of, that I can recall.
Yeah.
118 of those is with you. That's almost half of my movies I've seen in theaters is with you.
Jeez.
And it's wonderful because I'm just like, this is gonna sound terrible. I have a wife.
I have a wife.
And she likes going to movies, but I'm just like, she wouldn't go watch Monster Hunter with me.
Monster Hunter was great.
But Mytchel will go watch Monster Hunter with me. It's great for us. It was great for us. It's a bad movie, but it was great for us.
Or, that Jeep, how many times it rolled?
Words on Bathroom Walls. Another thing.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God,
Jada wouldn't watch that with me.
I cried so much.
There's just certain things I know that wouldn't interest her. Meanwhile, I can be like, Mytchel, you want to go watch that? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So I mean, it's beautiful to have a friend that's willing to do that with you.
Yeah.
And going back to like your love of cinema, it's beautiful. I think you need to delve more into older films, but we're working on it. We're getting you there.
Yeah.
I'm slowly just like throwing in movies. I'm like 50s, and you're just like, I don't want to. I'm like, yes, you do. But I can recall, I've actually talked with my family about this.
Mm-hmm.
they were like, you've always been interested in movies that were a little bit more not your age growing up.
Okay.
And I was thinking about that. I was like, that can't be true. I watched The Matrix when I was like 5. I had no idea what was happening. Like, no clue, but I loved it. And I'd rewatch it annually just
Wow.
because I was just amazed with what was happening
Yeah.
and like the feeling of it. But something I recall very vividly is watching movies that my family would watch without me. Things like Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings when you're a kid is intimidating.
I'm sure.
That's 3 hours. And when you think of 3 hours as a kid, that's a lifetime. That's a long time to sit there and watch a movie. You're like, oh man, I love Star Wars, but Star Wars is still like 2 hours long. But when you're a kid, you're just like, these are swords, laser swords, lightsabers are cool.
Yeah.
But Lord of the Rings always intimidated me. So the first time I watched Lord of the Rings, I remember getting this feeling in my stomach like a pit where I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch it. I'm finally going to go around to it. I'm brave enough to do it. And just that experience being so mind blowing. And just that became an annual rewatch too. So every year I'd rewatch Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and The Matrix every year.
You know what I used to do? I used to rewatch Marvel Cinematic Universe every year.
I used to rewatch it every time a movie was coming out.
Oh, sorry, that's what I used to do. But not anymore.
There's so much.
No, there's too many. I've also seen it too many times.
The problem, okay, so rewatching the MCU. I know MCU is a huge part of what got me into movies. 2016 blew my mind with Civil War. But rewatching the MCU used to be so easy. And now it's like I've seen Iron Man so many times now. I just don't want to rewatch it. I get like halfway through it and I'm just like, I just don't care.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I think it's funny because like obviously I didn't have Letterboxd to keep track of how many times I've seen movies. Do you ever think about how many times you've seen a movie? I have rewatched Iron Man 4 times in 3 years. I have no reason. Like, you know how many times Iron Man 4 times. I haven't seen Captain America 4 times. I haven't seen Thor 4 times, but I just keep rewatching Iron Man, getting through Iron Man, and being like, I like that movie, and just never continuing the MCU.
The MCU, yeah.
Like, if I had a track of how many times I've seen Iron Man, it's probably like 20. Like, I just keep doing it, and it's because every time I rewatch the MCU, you have to rewatch Iron Man.
You know what it is these days of why it's hard for me to rewatch films? Because like I start putting on a film and I'm like, oh, but there's so much I haven't watched.
So much. And okay, so I own a lot of physical media, and I've slowed down. You know why?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I realize I'm like I buy all these new movies that I've already seen, but I'll never rewatch them because there's always something I haven't seen. I'd rather watch something I haven't seen versus something I have.
Right.
Like, I know for a fact Joker's amazing. I've watched it in theaters. I bought it. I didn't rewatch it until Jada was like, I've never seen Joker. And I was like, it's a heavy movie. But I owned it and just never rewatched it. It's just, it's hard. It's difficult.
See, here's the thing. I have like a handful of movies that I've seen over the past few years that I've wanted to watch again. But I'm just so like, I don't know. I just get guilt. I feel guilt whenever I want to watch it because I'm just like, I have so many other films that like, they're like, you haven't seen that film and you call yourself a movie person? Like, oh my God,
you know when people do that to me?
What?
Comedies.
Oh, I'm sure.
Especially Adam Sandler comedies, bro. I have so many people that are like, you've never seen Happy Gilmore? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And they're just like, what? I'm like, I don't get comedy.
You know,
and
that's
weird. Such a weird thing.
I feel like if you said that these days, like specifically with like Adam Sandler, people will be like, yeah, it's okay. Like if you said it like 10 years ago, like
he was such an icon.
Yeah, and he just kind of fell off being a comedy icon.
Uncut Gems, though. I mean, then he's coming back with the Safdie brothers for another film. But even today, I can go to work and they'll be like, "You've never seen this comedy?" Like, I don't get comedy. I don't like comedy. I don't think things are funny unless someone's there to tell me when something's funny.
It's funny.
And it's a shame because like the things that I think are funny typically aren't funny to other people. Like Triangle of Sadness.
I was about to say Triangle of Sadness.
So funny to me.
No.
I know. But it's so funny to me. And I know it's just like Jada, oh my God. We'll be watching a movie in theaters and I'll laugh at something and she's like, Bryce, that's not funny. I'm like, it's funny to me. She's like, you have messed up humor. I'm like, it's funny to me.
I like how like Triangle of Sadness. I'm like, no, that's horrible. And you're like, what about the puke scene? I'm like, no, it wasn't good. And then Babylon happens and you're just like, oh, that's funny to you? I was like, look, I don't know what to say. Like it was.
So here's a question about your love of cinema.
Yeah.
Do you think your family influenced it?
Yes. I mean, I think to a lot. I mean, more than my family, specifically my babysitter, because we would as kids we really just had movies to keep us entertained. That's how she kept us entertained, and kind of like
such a cheap way to keep a child entertained. You're
I
just
know,
like sit on this couch and watch this
yeah,
movie, and then
but
you're just like, oh my god, this is so good.
but she didn't choose the movie for us. Like she had this wall of films, kind of like you did, and she would tell us to go up and wow, they were VHSs actually, but
Remember VHS?
yeah, I do because I use them a lot. But
My family used to only have VHS, and like I remember like
I think we had a combo DVD player VHS.
I didn't even have a DVD player growing up. My grandma did, and we just never had DVDs, so like everything was VHS. And I remember like, you know how long it took me to buy a Blu-ray? Because I just didn't care.
I know, and then but basically, so she would like there's because I have 5 siblings, and so I have 4 siblings. I'm the 5th, but we would but she basically would, every day she's like, okay, you're choosing for today. You're choosing the film for the morning. You're choosing for the film for the evening, and so we would always choose the films of what to watch, and so there's part of that. Like almost every time she watched us, we would do that, and then in addition to that, whenever we did go, not when did he go, but like for like my birthday or any major like holidays like Christmas or like my birthdays, we would always go see a film together. It was like a family, or for my birthday we would go see a film, and they would pay for all my friends to go with me to see a film.
It's such a good tradition, though.
Yeah,
I know that personally growing up, I never went to a theater very much. My parents were just like, we don't like movie theaters, and I was just like, but they're fun. So it was always like a kind of like a swell of excitement going to a theater. Like I managed to trick my dad a few times. Like we had a family thing happen, and he was just like, I need to go do something, and I was like, Civil War came out, we can go watch Spider-Man. He was just like, fine, whatever, and I was like, yeah, Spider-Man, because I just couldn't talk people into letting me go to a theater by myself.
Right.
And also I just never, movies would come and go, I'd be like, oh my god, it looks so good, and then I'd just never go watch it.
Also, if we think about the state of what films used to be like, or theaters used to be like, no assigned seating, not comfortable chairs.
Oh like god, I can't remember non-assigned seating, dude.
And also, like, do you like when you know we go when we go opening night, we go like 7 p.m. Like nowadays 6:30. You know,
you can like go online and be like, I want to sit there. And
yeah,
then,
but I'm saying like when we go opening night, like we go Thursday nights, a lot of films.
Yeah.
And but they're at 7 p.m. Like right, that's opening night, 7 p.m. Yeah, like not back in the day it was midnight. You actually had to like stand in line from like 7 p.m. to midnight to get a good seat. I feel like I did that like twice.
That would suck. I couldn't do that.
It was for like an Avenger, or it was for not Age of Ultron because I watched it somewhere else, but it was for it was a Marvel film, one of the Marvel films I did that for.
Probably Dark World.
Probably, which was horrible. I think I might have actually did it for Avatar too. No, not Avatar. I'm sorry, The Last Airbender.
I wish I could have talked my family into that. I know that I remember going to Spy Kids 3D. And being a kid with those like flimsy red blue glasses.
Me too.
And just like as like God, I had to have been like 6 or something like that, an annoying kid. Even then though, I sat in my seat. I was a good kid. You know why? Because I loved movie. I was just amazed by the screen. But I would sit there with like things and stick them on and off, and looking at the screen, and be like, "Oh, that's so cool."
I still do that.
So cool. I do it sometimes, but not as much. I think it's because I have glasses now.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm more irritated by the fact I have to wear glasses over my glasses to be sitting there going, "Ooh, ooh, ooh." It's just like 3D is such a complicated thing when you have glasses.
Is it?
It sometimes they don't fit right, or you have to like double do on your ears. It's uncomfortable.
Double do.
It's I miss not having to have glasses and being able to go to 3D movies and just being like, "This is so cool." And now it's just like I had to fit them perfectly on top of my glasses. If there's a smudge on my glasses, then it messes up the thing.
Oof.
It's a whole process. I still love it. I've enjoyed we've gone to a lot of 3D movies last year.
Puss in Boots,
Avatar,
oh,
Avatar 2.
Avatar 2.
Avatar 2. No, film has just always been something in my life where I can look at it and just be like, it's a comforting.
I love it most specifically because, and the reason I love film is because it connects us all together. It's something that like I can talk to about like if somebody's seen a film, I can talk to them about that. Like we have something in common that I can talk to them. Like I could probably bring up Star Wars or Lord of the Rings to nearly everybody.
I remember when we first started talking, and I watch a lot of older films. You know, I love 20s, 60s, 50s, you know, old films. And I remember you were just like, why? And I was just like, why not? And you're like, you can't talk to people about it. And I was like, but that's not why I watch it. I watch it for me, not the social stuff.
It took me a long time to understand.
And you like the social aspect. Meanwhile, I go to work and I'm just like, I watch this crazy film, and they're just like, what did you watch? And I'm like, because they've gotten to the point where my coworkers, are curious to see what I've listened, what I watched, because I watched some weird stuff, and like half the stuff they're just like, why would you watch that? I'm like, because it's fun. Like Salo.
That's exactly
Salo,
yeah.
dude. People, when I tell people what Salo's about, they're just like, "Why would you do that?" And it's like, partially Criterion completionism, but also I could have quit that. That was the 11th spine in the or 17th spine in the collection. I could have just not done that. Like I had a choice. I knew that was coming up. That was soon, and I still sat there and was like, "I'm gonna watch it."
Yeah, you definitely sat through that.
I watched some crazy stuff, and people enjoy listening to what I watch, but also I find it amazing to watch films from the old times, to see like what life was like. It's like a time capsule. You see into the past and you can't change that. That's how it was.
Yeah.
Or other cultures, other languages, you see other worlds that you just wouldn't be able to experience where you're at now.
Yeah, and even though I primarily look at films for entertainment value rather than their artistic value, I have started appreciating the artistic a little bit more over time.
Speaking of artistic, this is a segue kind of thing. What would you say, out of every movie you've seen, was the weirdest film you ever watched? I'll have you beat, but I just want to know. House?
Yeah,
really?
Which is
the Netflix movie?
No, it's Japanese horror.
Hausu.
Hausu, yeah.
That is a strange movie. It has a lot of weird colors. I watched, and this is strictly for the Criterion Collection, and it makes me watch a lot of weird stuff. I watched an entire box set of like 61 movies where it's just colors. No music, no sound, just colors.
Why?
I know that's the question, and I remember when I was watching it, people would be looking at my phone while I'm sitting there, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?" And I'm just like, colors, and they're like, "What is it supposed to be?" And I was like, "I have no idea, but it's there." And they're like, "Are you actually watching it?" And I was just like, "It swirls and kind of like flashes and stuff," and I'm like, "I don't understand why this was made." Like it's one of the weirdest experimental things I've ever watched, and they're like, "You watched how many?" I was like, "There's an hour and a half long one, and it's just colors and swirls and glass and it."
Jeez Louise.
Film is a strange thing to think about.
It is a strange thing. You can do anything. You can just put a camera in front of you and talk about why you love movies for an hour and a half.
Pull an Andy Warhol and put it in front of the Empire State Building for 24 hours and call it a film.
Is that what he did?
He did it, yeah. It's a 24-hour movie of just the day in front of the Empire State Building. It doesn't move.
Time lapse that into 5 minutes.
It's a static shot of just the Empire State Building.
He could have just time lapsed that, instead of just leaving it at 24 hours. That's pretentious.
It's something else. Andy Warhol's a man in his own. He makes some weird stuff like Blood for Dracula, Flesh for Frankenstein, which are crappy versions of the Universal monsters.
Well, what we should do, since we're talking about why we love movies, we should talk about what are some of our favorite films and why we love them.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna.
No, we don't have to do every single film.
I know. I'm gonna do two of them. Two of my favorite films, because that's just an easier number for me to think about.
Yeah.
And I basically just being like, okay, I'll rewatch these the most. They are my comfort films, no matter how strange one of them is gonna be as a comfort film. Okay, so you want me to do mine first?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll talk about this one first because it's the most least concerning of the two. 12 Angry Men.
Dude, okay, this is like one of those films when I first watched it, right? You showed it to me, and how you talked about Banshees at some point. We talked about Banshees in this year, and I don't know if it was in this episode.
That was last week.
Yeah, last week. And you said you thought it was good at first, or it was okay.
It grows on you.
It grows on you. 12 Angry Men was that for me, and I love this film.
It is one of those things. So I remember, it's not even because it came up from the Criterion Collection. I watched it specifically because I heard so many good things about it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this. And I watched it. And I was like, I love this.
Why is it so good?
It's so good. And then I watched it again. I've seen this movie 4 times now.
I own it. I bought it on social media.
I got depressed one day. I was just in a bad mood, was not having a good day. And Jada was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to watch 12 Angry Men. And so I put it on. It got me in a lot better mood. I had a lot of fun watching it. And it's just something where I know I can put it on, enjoy it, and love it.
Yeah.
Amazing cast, amazing story. It's short. It's fantastic. Every character is quirky, and it is a masterpiece film by Sidney Lumet.
I agree.
Sidney Lumet. I think it's Sidney Lumet. I'm totally just blanking on that. I'm going to say it because that's what came to my mind, and that's what I assume is correct, and I'm not going to look it up. And then my concerning choice, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, that's not that concerning.
It's
I know
pretty
you.
concerning.
Yeah.
You know me, but for people that don't know me, they're like, "Oh yeah, a nice political or movie about a courthouse. You know, people do the right and wrong,
And murder.
and slasher flick." And I'm just like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a movie that. So I've always loved slashers. Slashers were my intro to horror. I liked watching the Halloween films and all that, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre was always that thing where I couldn't find a copy. I had no way to watch it. You got to think, this is before like streaming services were everywhere, and you couldn't just go on Amazon and rent things. When I first started watching these, it's crazy to think that was only like 6 years ago. But
that is crazy.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when I found it, I was so ecstatic to watch it, and I watched it, and I was blown away by what I watched. I was like, Leatherface is fantastic. The movie is fantastic. I read all behind the scenes stuff. I delved into this, and I love it. I think the sequels are all trash. They're my kind of trash, and I love them for their trash. Especially the reboot that came out last year? In February. Everyone hated that movie. I think it's fantastic.
I like that one. How do people didn't like it?
People hate it.
I love it.
It's the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre since like the first one.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking about Scream. Never mind.
Oh, Scream. Oh, you suck. Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot is amazing.
I forgot. They had Scream and Texas Chainsaw
Massacre. Last year was a reboot year, yo. We had Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Scream. We had.
I forgot. I still haven't seen that new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It's so good, and I know it's good to me. I know it's terrible. I know it's a crappy film. I give it 4.5. I'm not even shy. I love it. It's my trash.
It's my trash.
I mean, you got Texas Chainsaw Massacre is such a mess of a series, but the first one will be something that every time I watch it, I'll just be like, oh, I love it. I love it so much. I love the crappiness. I love the cheesiness. I love the slasher elements. I love the behind the scenes stuff. I love Leatherface. He's so funny. It's concerning. I told you it's concerning. My love for this film is concerning. I have him tattooed. I got Leatherface tattooed on my arm because it is just.
If that's concerning, then they probably shouldn't see my tattoos because.
It's cool. You have your passion. I mean, I have a lot of other film tattoos that are just kind of weird and like off-putting for like people.
Yeah.
But we could discuss that in a whole other episode. Just have a whole episode where we talk about our film tattoos.
That would be fun. We should.
Be like, I got this because of this movie, and this is what the movie means to me. Look at us coming up with ideas live
and on, not on air.
No. So 12 Angry Men, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, two of my favorite films. I know there's others. There's so many. I could be like Nosferatu or some weird obscure shit. But 12 Angry Men, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, those are films that I put on for comfort.
I like that. I could definitely put on 12 Angry Men for comfort too, because that one's fun.
Now, Mytchel, I am very curious.
I mean,
what is your two favorite films off the top of your head?
I've screamed Spider-Man like 20 times. Like, I love Spider-Man. Oh, so good. I mean, just the atmosphere, the beginning intro of the film. I'm not talking about the intro. I'm talking about the scenes where they have the webs coming through and they're doing the titles. I love that.
It's so iconic.
I know.
I think didn't they do that in the other two movies too, where they had like the opening titles? It was just like the same style.
Yeah.
Where it was like, it's so iconic.
It is
just beautiful.
And then the music is so great. I mean, even our music is influenced off of that. Our podcast.
Spider-Man has an amazing soundtrack. Actually, every Spider-Man movie has a great soundtrack.
They do. And then honestly, it's just like, I don't even know what it was. Like, I just vividly remember as a kid seeing like the scene where he starts climbing the wall and the tentacles come up.
The hair come up to his fingers.
And I just imagine being like, my mind was blown. I'm like, oh my God, that's how it works. And I like
the hooks on the finger.
Yeah, I remember like going up to the thing and I'm like, do I have hooks on my fingers?
He's just like, baby, I'm Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Okay, this is totally off section. Did you ever try that as a kid?
Trying to climb?
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Especially, I'd rewatch Spider-Man, and I'd just be like going up to walls, be like, why can't I do this?
Yeah, to this day, I actually got a web shooter tattooed on my wrist. To this day, I still pretend to do web shooters. Just go like up and away.
I can do it. Shazam.
That's what Shazam was to me before Shazam. I mean, I could just like, I just love every scene in this film. I love how it's not like some big superhero film. It's about a dude and discovering that he has these powers and dealing with his family and friends and trying to be a normal person while also being a superhero and saving people. And the end decision comes down to saving his girlfriend and saving a bus full of kids. And that's
what a choice, though.
I know.
Like, the love of your life or children.
Let the kids die. Exactly. I'm just like, yo. And then the dialogue is crisp.
You know what's terrible to me is I'm just like, that's not even a choice. That's not a choice. Like, I know it's a choice for him, but in my mind, I'm like, obviously the kids. Like, I know it's a hard one for him, but like if you're a superhero,
Oh, it's the kids. Well, I know it's the kids.
it's the kids, but it's like he's able to do both.
Yeah, that's the point. Exactly. Like he has to go for the kids, but
It's a terrible dilemma, but it's just even as a kid, I like obviously you're a child. You don't know what love is. You don't know what that kind of junk is. But you're just like, obviously the kids, like you let her fall, and then
Right.
and then you manage to say both. You're like, yeah.
yes. Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so much I could talk. I mean, I could make.
Oh, New York, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
I was thinking about that.
Ah,
I was about to say like I could make a whole high top video about like say love for the Spider-Man films, but so yeah, Spider-Man number 1, just pure bliss. I even love Spider-Man 3 with passion. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that film. Besides Venom,
Venom destroys that movie for me. Also, like
I think
Harry,
actually it's not
I
even
think,
it's not
I
even
think Harry Osborn's character is destroyed in that movie too. I feel like there's too many plot lines.
I know I agree with you, but I also like what they do with Harry because I specifically love the scene when Peter's fighting him without without the dude on.
He's wearing like his tux.
Oh, so good.
That is a beautiful scene.
Okay, so that's Spider-Man. And then my second one that I kind of came up. Well, that's not off the top of my head. It's Kick-Ass.
I knew it.
Yeah, I know.
I was
It's
like,
a superhero film.
I
I also have
literally-
that tattooed.
I know you have it on your leg, and I was like, "There's no way it's not Kick-Ass." I remember telling you I hadn't seen it, and you were just like, "What?" I
Oh,
was just
absolutely
like,
no. You have to see.
You made me watch it, and I had such a fun time.
Yeah, it's okay. For me specifically, like the idea of this kid who's like nothing goes wrong. Like I mean, his mom does die, but from natural causes, right? Like he just kind
It's
of
not like she got murdered in a mugging.
and so like he's just like this natural this dude. It's the widest thing ever. Like this dude that decides he wants to be a superhero because he's bored, right? Like I
The
completely understand
whitest
that.
dude ever.
Dude, it is like no.
I love it though because
Yeah.
it's just like every comic book fan at one point was just like, I could do this.
But that's the thing. Exactly. Every comic book people at a certain point, like, what if I like you even like that's kind of part of getting into cosplays. You start feeling like you're badass and you're a superhero, right? But
Walk up to
for-
random people and beat the shit out of them in the alleys.
exactly. But for a dude to be like, no, I'm actually gonna do it, and to be that insane and go through with it, and not only does he keep getting his ass at first because I didn't like that he got his ass kicked so much that he got beat up a lot, but what I started realizing is that like no, like that's what makes him amazing.
What's the Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse? You got to get back up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even about getting back up. It's just that like, it makes it amazing. Yeah, I guess it is about getting back up because like no matter how much he gets beat up, he's just like I'm still gonna be here. Like
I'm still kick ass.
Yeah, exactly. And then the fact that you have 2 other like mentor characters that come in like that and try to be, or even his mentors. I love it.
His relationship with Hit Girl is really cool too.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say like at first I was like worried they were gonna be like very romance kind of thing,
Not at
but
all.
I like the brother and sister dynamic. It just feels natural.
Yeah, like she's a bigger sister, but she's younger.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
it's so good.
Um,
I will say that Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yes.
Correct? I am very excited to see what he does in the what he just got cast in something, didn't he? He was in
no.
talks about the Bond.
Yeah.
That's the rumor where he was like could be next James Bond. It'd be very interesting. I know that he's going to be Craven the Hunter,
Yeah.
and I love Craven the
Yeah.
Hunter. My cat's named Craven, so
It is. Yeah. I'm not very excited about Craven, but that's a whole other conversation.
that's Sony thing. But no, I just my God, everything I see him in, I'm just like he's so good.
He gets better and better every single time. From this to Quicksilver, which was good, but I didn't like what they did with the character. And
Lemon.
then
Or is he
Lemon.
Tangerine? I can't remember.
He was Tangerine.
Tangerine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lemon and Tangerine. Give us a spinoff. I'm still going to bring that up every single
Please.
time. I don't care. Just, I need it.
Yeah. Every time he's in a film, I'm just like, yes, I love Aaron Taylor.
He's so good every single time. He's
Amazing.
almost unrecognizable in every single time.
He is. Yeah.
You like see him, you're like, that's the same guy. And then you like look at him in Kick Ass, you're like, that's the same
guy.
guy.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it really did.
Oh, it's such a good movie. I see why you love it. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful film.
Exactly.
And I know that I'm jumping way ahead right now. With how much you love Kick Ass, I did choose a movie much like Kick Ass for us to discuss. I think in September.
September. I
September.
guess see you in part of at the end of the year.
In 7 months, we will be discussing a movie kind of like Kick Ass with my choice as Super, directed
Super.
by James Gunn.
Super.
I think it's directed by James
Yeah,
Gunn.
it is.
Right? Yeah, and I've already seen it, and I chose it specifically because you love Kick Ass, and I was like, it's very much like Kick Ass, so I was just I chose that specifically for you.
Ooh, thank you.
I mean, it's 7 months away, but you know.
Yeah, I guess we'll see you in 7 months for that when we reference this episode, probably. So
If we remember that we discussed this in
that's why I
7
said
months.
probably. But all right, well, that'll probably wrap it up for today.
It's kind of a ranting episode, but just one where we got to discuss some films that we love and our joy for them, along with Cooley High, with as much as we could about that.
Exactly. And if you want to just kind of see our TikToks, anything, Twitter, anything, you want to interact with us outside of here, go ahead and follow us on Into the Filmverse podcast, and basically, or Into the Filmverse, I believe, is what we're at, where we're at.
I think that's what everything is basically Into the Filmverse. You should be able to find us if you look up Into the Filmverse or Into the Filmverse podcast. I mean, you ever looked up our podcast?
Yeah, I have.
Everything comes up with Spider-Verse.
Probably.
It's so funny to me because it'll just be like Into the Filmverse, and it's just like Spider-Verse. I'm like, no, no. You're good, but no. Our reference is there, but no. But yeah, you can find us there. You can find me, Bryce, at Payne Reviews on Letterboxd and Payne Reviews on TikTok and YouTube. And you can find me on Twitter at Sanguine Films because I can't change it because someone else took my username.
Shameful.
Jerk.
And if you want to follow me on anywhere, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of the above, at Mytchel Chandler. And Mytchel is spelled with a Y, so it's Mytchel.
I love that we both have to be like Payne and Mytchel.
Gotta explain how to spell my name every time.
It's funny to me. It's a good segue for us. We're alike but different.
Alike but different.
Anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, Excelsior!